I'm Dr. K. Sangeeta, Associate Professor, Department of Agriculture Biotechnology. In this lecture, I will discuss on the batch, continuous and fed batch fermentation. So what is batch culture? Batch cultivation is a closed system where there is no interaction between the system and the surrounding. So once the sterilized media and the microorganisms has been fed into the fermenter vessel, it will not be allowed to interact with the outer environment. So the particular pH temperature will be provided to carry out the fermentation process and to produce the product. Once the product formation reaches the maximum, the products are harvested. So before going deeply into this batch culture, first, what is growth has to be understood. So growth is the increase in cellular constituents that results in the increase in cell number and increase in cell size. So this refers entirely to the microorganisms that is grown inside the batch culture medium. Bacterial growth has 4 distinct phases. When it is grown in a batch culture, when the plot is plotted between the logarithmic of the cell number versus time, this type of graph will be obtained. So initially, a lag phase will be there, then it will be an exponential growth phase, followed by stationary phase and death phase. So the 4 phases are lag phase, log phase or exponential phase, stationary phase, decline phase or death phase. So growth curve is also helps us to yield the generation time of a particular organism. So how much amount of the time this particular organism is taking to double. Lag phase. First phase of the growth of the organism is lag phase. Cell starts synthesizing new components to during this lag phase to replenish the spent materials first thing and to adapt to the new medium or other conditions also. So when the microorganism has been transferred from one environment to the new environment, it needs some time to adapt to the new environment. Then only the necessary enzymes will be synthesized during this lag phase. So it may differ based on the microorganisms and also based on the temperature from where it has been shifted. So for example, if you are culturing the microorganism or if you are taking the microorganism from the fridge and inoculating it into the room temperature, so the microorganism will take or need a particular time to adapt to that. So those phase may vary depending upon the culture conditions also and also the culture medium also. For example, if you are inoculating the microorganism that has been taken from the nutrient agar medium to the other medium like corn starch agar or any other molasses medium means definitely the shift in the medium environment also would also help that would make the lag phase more prolonged. So this lag phase can also be sometimes avoided. How it can be avoided is, so for example, there will not be any lag phase. So when exponentially growing culture, when it is inoculated into the same medium, we can avoid the lag phase. Similarly, the old or stationary culture, when it is inoculated into the same medium, you will have the lag phase. When we can expect a long lag phase is that if that bacteria is damaged by any heat, radiation or toxic chemicals, it may require some time to get adapted to the new environment. So time required to repair this damaged cells and also the other cell constituents make the cell to have a longer lag phase. After this recovery time, it would enter into the exponential phase. So these 3 types of, that is no lag phase or lag phase category and long lag phase is also possible. So in case during the fermentation industries, if we don't need this lag phase means we can directly transfer the culture or we have to maintain the same culture medium and same conditions like temperature and pH so that we can reduce the lag phase conditions or also we can avoid this lag phase and also to reduce the product recovery time in order to get the product easily or fastly, so that we can avoid this lag phase. So in this next phase is this exponential phase. Before that phase, what would happen is cellular metabolism in the microorganisms or will be accelerated, and rapid biosynthesis of cellular macromolecules occurs. What are the macromolecules? Are proteins, nucleic acids, and enzymes. Okay, all those things will be start synthesizing. For this synthesis, for the synthesis of these proteins and other macromolecules like nucleic acids, all primarily enzymes will be synthesized, so that it could be so that the bacteria can enter into the next phase. So here we can expect the cells, the increase in the cell sizes, not in the doubling of the cells, but preliminarily we can expect the increase in the cell sizes. So there will not be any cell division at this phase, and there will not be any increase in the number of cells. Only what we can expect is that the sizes of the cell could be getting increased. It is where the exact exponential phase, it is a second phase, also called log phase, rate of the growth and division is constant. In this phase, the growth rate will be constant and also the division will be constant. And also we can attain a maximum level in this exponential phase. So the population of this will not be mostly uniform in terms of this chemical and physical properties during this phase. So during log phase, the cells also will exhibit a balanced growth. It would exhibit a balanced growth, and the cellular constituents will be manufactured at a constant rate relative to each other. So the microbial generation can be expected in a logarithmic phase of in a logarithmic pattern. So here it is that this is represented by the symbol dx by dt equal to mu x, where mu represents the specific growth rate of the microorganisms and x represents the cell dry weight. So this t represents, it corresponds to the time, how much amount of the microorganism is getting doubled. So it is this differential rate of growth pattern that is shown during this exponential phase. So this phase is used to mathematically calculate the time, how much time the bacterial population is taking to double in number, and it is especially useful in the fermentation technology and fermentation industries also, that it is useful in the research context, that then only we can standardize the procedures for the inoculation of the microorganisms, or how much microorganism is needed and how long it will take for the microorganism to get into the death phase, also that when we can harvest the product. Stationary phase. This is the third phase. In this stationary phase, growth eventually ceases, or the growth tries to stop, or it attains a level. Total number of viable cells remains constant. There will not be any doubling of the number of microbial cells. Active cells stops reproducing. And the reproductive rate or the generation rate will be balanced by the death rate. So there will not be any doubling rate of the microorganisms. So for example, if it has attained a 10,000 number of microorganisms, means the 10,000 number of microorganisms will remain in the stationary phase. So what are the reasons, or what makes this bacteria to undertake or enter into the stationary phase? The nutrient limitation. First thing is nutrient limitation. So when the available nutrients that is present in the medium has got exhausted, the microorganisms will stop multiplying due to the insufficiency of the nutrients. And next is the limited oxygen availability. If the oxygen availability is also very low, and next toxic waste accumulation. And the waste materials, or if it is accumulated in a larger amount, it would hinder the growth of the microorganisms or the multiplication of the microorganisms. Or when the critical population density has reached a maximum level, that there will not be any source for the nutrients to be utilized, then it reaches the stationary phase. So stationary phase and starvation response. Sometimes a few bacteria will enter or will show some morphological changes after entering into the stationary phase also. So what are the changes that may or exhibit due to the starvation or other stressful conditions are endospore formation, decrease in the size, protoplast shrinkage, and nucleoid condensation. These are a few changes that would be formed during the stationary phase or starvation responses, and these are the responses. So mostly what is the enzyme that contributes to the starvation process or RPOS protein that assists the RNA polymerase in the transcribing genes for starvation proteins. Starvation responses. Production of starvation protein increases the cross-linking in the cell wall of the bacteria that helps to resist the changes in the outer environment, that helps the bacteria to protect itself and to resist the changes that is occurring in the environment. One of the protein is that DPS protein that protects the DNA, and there are many chaperone proteins are available that prevents the protein damage, and these cells are called persistence cells. The last phase is called as the senescence and the death phase. This is the decrease in the population occurs due to the death, and mostly it is similar to that of the log phase. A small number of highly resistant organisms may be present So the decline phase starts due to the accumulation of toxic products and autolytic enzymes, and also due to the exhaustion of the nutrients, So what for this batch culture is important? Generally speaking, it is important to study the growth kinetics before undertaking the fermentation process, and also to calculate the generation time. It is also required for the generation time and also for the production of antibiotics, enzymes, and other metabolites in industries. So in the fermentation process or in the batch cultivation during the recovery of the product, it is fully dependent on these four factors. So what are the four factors? Are substrate concentration, pH, temperature, dissolved oxygen. So based on these four factors, it is these product recovery or the batch culture is fully dependent on these four factors. Substrate concentration. So if the growth is maximum, it is fully based on the kinetics of the similar to that of the enzyme kinetics, and that is given by Monod equation, mu equal to mu max into substrate by Ks plus S. In this, mu represents the specific growth rate, mu max represents the maximum specific growth rate, S represents the residual substrate concentration, and Ks represents the substrate saturation constant. So it is fully based on the substrate level, the maximum growth rate will be reached. Similarly, the product formation is also influenced by the differences in the temperature and also the dissolved oxygen. So in the temperature context, so it is fully based on the different type of microorganism that is used for the production. So fungi generally adapt to the room temperature of 28 degrees Celsius. The bacteria requires 37 degrees Celsius. So the temperature also influences the growth of the microorganisms. Similarly, the dissolved oxygen concentration also. Coming to this dissolved oxygen concentration, mostly bacteria requires 20% of dissolved oxygen, and fungi requires 40% of dissolved oxygen for its growth. So that has to be supplemented, and or it has to be monitored during the fermentation process to attain the maximum product recovery or maximum product gain. Next is that also that based on this Ludeking Piret model, this type of product formation has been classified or divided into three types. One is that growth associated products are produced simultaneously with the microbial growth, and the specific rate of product formation is proportional to the specific growth rate. So this one is possible in the production of enzymes. Okay, so whenever the enzyme production is necessary, so that can be correlated with the microbial growth directly. Because since the based on that, so for example, if 100 microorganisms is there, means we can expect that 100 units of the enzyme. So since why it is said like that is, the specific rate of product formation is directly proportional to the specific growth rate. So it is fully based on how far the microorganisms are multiplying and how this enzyme production rate is occurring. So it is entirely can be explained with this first model. So product formation is increasing along with the microbial growth. So once the microbial growth is attaining a stationary phase, similar that the product formation also will attain a stationary phase. So this is the first example for the product formation in comparison with the Purite model. Especially the example for that is enzymes. Next is the non-growth associated product formation. So this we can expect in the case of antibiotics. Mostly this is attained with the stationary phase when the growth rate is zero. When the growth rate is zero and the specific rate of product formation is also constant. When the specific rate of product formation is also constant. Since it is attained mostly with the stationary phase, we can expect, so this second model this is better explained by the second model, that the maximum product recovery can be attained or can be reached only in the stationary phase. In the other phase it is not. So third one is the mixed. So it is possible in mixed cultures, not only in the stationary phase you will be getting, even in the slow growth condition also this could be possible. So these are example of the products that is got by these third model is a lactic acid fermentation and a xanthan gum product. So this is possible with this third model that is represented with this. So this is mostly, so these are three model types or three types of product formation we can attain during the production, and it is correlated with the Luedeking period model. So we cannot say or eliminate that, or we cannot eliminate that this phase is not necessary. Definitely for the production purpose or to accelerate the fermentation and to get the product faster, we can skip the lag phase, but at the same time these two other phases are necessary for the product formation. So that is that about the batch culture cultivation. And coming to this, next is this continuous culture of microorganisms. So continuous culture of microorganisms or continuous cultivation is also possible in the fermentation process. So in this continuous culture system, it occurs in an open system. When compared to the batch cultivation, it is a closed system model. It is a closed system model where there is no interaction with the outer environment. But here it is an open system model. So there will be a continuous provision of nutrients and there will be a continual removal of waste materials. So this due to these attainable two conditions, that is cells can be maintained in a log phase at a constant biomass concentration for extended periods. We can maintain the cells in the log phase of the growth. So we are here, it is possible that we can skip this lag phase and also the stationary phase or the other phases. So this is possible using the continuous culture system. So this is the schema of the fermenter vessel has been with the one entry and one exit port. So 1 year you can supply the medium in, and from that outside part you can take out the medium out. So it has been provided with such a provision, and at a particular feed rate the medium will be supplemented and the medium will be taken out. This is a maintenance of a constant chemostat volume by using a single medium inlet pump and a simple overflow tube draining by gravity that has been fitted in the fermenter vessel itself. So second one is that it is having a two ports. At the top, that is one is maintenance of constant chemostat volume by using two matched membrane or peristaltic pumps. So this is also a picture that is depicting the media reservoir to pump the medium whenever it is necessary based on the probes or the level of the maintenance of the medium. This is a chemostat vessel, and there is another effluent tube that has been designed at the right side for the outflow of the medium and the cells, and also there is a provision for collecting the receptacles. So this is possible or attainable by three types. One is the chemostat, turbidostat, and perfusion method. Third one. First is chemostat. Chemostat refers the rate of addition of a single growth limiting substrate controls the cell multiplication. Okay. It is fully dependent on the substrate. Chemostat is fully dependent on the substrate level. So what, based on the one growth limiting substrate, we can maintain the cells in a single condition, or in the log phase we can maintain the organisms. So it is fully based on the one criteria called as growth limiting substrate conditions. We can change the constituent of a medium by changing the constituent of the medium. We can adjust the, or we can maintain the organisms at a particular phase. Next one is the turbidostat. What is turbidostat? Is an indirect measurement of the cell numbers, or by adjusting the cell numbers with the help of the turbidity. By measuring the turbidity, or by measuring how the turbidity of that medium has attained or reached, we can control the addition or the removal of the liquid. So this needs an additional sensor so that we can by that we can but it is driven by a real time feedback, so that based on this sensors it could adjust the addition of the medium and the removal of the medium. Perfusion method. Perfusion method is a type of continuous bioprocessing mode based on either retaining the cells in the bioreactor or recycling the cells back to the bioreactor. So here the cells is a very important one. Here the cells are filtered out or retained or recycled. So fresh medium is provided and cell-free supernatant is getting removed at the same rate. So this is the perfusion method. So what is a chemostat? Chemostat was first designed by Monod and Novick in Switzerland in 1950. It is a method of culturing the cells so that we are giving an controlled growth rate by changing the medium. And these cells are grown in a fixed volume of medium that is continuously diluted by addition of new medium and simultaneously removing the old medium and the cells. By varying the dilution rate, it is possible to establish steady state population of cells at different growth rate and under different conditions of nutrient limitations. So by limiting the nutrients, it is possible to attain a steady state of populations. What for these chemostats are important? It is important in the fermentation technology also, but at the basic level, it is very important to know about how these biomolecules are important, how these biomolecules are influencing the growth rate or influencing the growth of the microorganisms. So this is important to investigate how the abundance of thousands of biomolecules, such as the transcripts and metabolites, are coordinately regulated with the growth rate. So how one metabolism is influencing the rate of the growth of the microorganism, and parallelly that how this one composite or one of the ingredient in the medium is influencing the other component in the medium. For that also it is important. Next, how chemostats can be used to obtain precise estimates of growth rate, differences between the different genotypes in nutrient limited environments using competition experiments. So this could be better explained that is the microorganisms like E. coli, if it has been isolated from a human sample or a clinical sample, or at the same time if it has been isolated from a soil or even from a sewage sample, that refers to the different strains. So if these strains definitely will show some types of genetic variations. So how these microorganisms isolated from the different sources will show the growth rate, and also that how it may adapt to the, how it may show the growth in the same nutrient medium, or so that could be estimated through this chemostat cultures. Chemostats are also used to study the adaptive evolution of the cells growing in a constant nutrient poor environment. So it is also used to study the adaptive evolution of the cells. So these examples gives us the way that at last that it helps us to study or explore the system level investigations of the cell growth regulation, one thing, and next thing is that mainly the gene by environment interactions and adaptive evolutions of these same microorganisms and different genotypes. So in order to attain the chemostat in a laboratory condition or in a culture condition, what are the main components that is essential or needed is methods for maintaining the sterility of all components. So that is a big problem, and but it is a very important thing to maintain the sterility of all the components since it is a continuous process. Second thing is that a well mixed culture. A well mixed culture is needed, and appropriate aeration of the culture vessel is also required. Appropriate aeration of the culture vessels and a reliable means of media addition and culture removal. The port has to be reliable so that there is no contamination is occurring at both the levels during the addition and also during the removal process. In continuation cultivation, the dilution rate will be equal to the growth rate of the microorganisms. So dilution rate is very, very important. That is mostly influenced by the growth rate of the microorganisms. So we can also increase the dilution rate to the maximum growth rate of the organism. But when this level is increased or when it is going beyond, means the washout of the cell may possible will occur. Mostly the dilution rate is calculated by dividing the flow rate by the culture medium. So flow rate by the culture volume is used to determine the dilution rate. For example, if you are using a volume of 300 ml, then the 30 ml removal of the medium represents the 0.1 dilution rate for every 1 hour. So everything is occurring under a positive pressure conditions. So the range of the dilution rates can be used so that it does not exceed the maximum growth rate of the cells. So when it is attaining when the dilution rate is exceeding the maximum growth rate, that may result in the washout of the chemostat. So what are the advantages of this continuous culture? First thing is it allows the maximum productivity. So there is no phase like lag phase. So always the cells will be in the same condition and it will be producing throughout the entire fermentation process. First main advantage of it. So the yield will be more in this continuous culture process. Next is that time for cleaning, sterilization and handling of the vessel are all reduced. In the batch cultivation, first we have to sterilize the medium and sterilize the fermenter vessel, and entirely after that only we can start up the process. But here since it is occurring continuously, the time for the cleaning, sterilization and handling of all the vessel are reduced. And it also provides a steady state for the metabolic studies when many elements sums to 0. But here also we are having some disadvantages. So what are the disadvantages are? It is very difficult to keep a constant population density over prolonged periods. Okay, over prolonged periods. So certain after a certain period we can stop. Next, the products of a continuous process cannot be neatly separated into batches for traceability. So traceability is a very main problem, or reputation is very main problem. Increased risk of contamination and genetic changes are possible in this continuous culture systems. So that is about the continuous culture system. And next is the fed batch fermentation system. Fed batch fermentation system, the main purpose of this fed batch fermentation system is to maximize the rate of the cell growth and the product formation. So whenever that the continuous culture system is not possible, we can mostly go for this fed batch system. So fed batch system is also followed in many fermentation industries, and it is also a preferred method of usage of for the production of the products. So in this, the total rate of product formation or product yield is maximized in this fed batch fermentation. Coming to this, for those process for which the raw material is relatively inexpensive, okay, whenever the raw material is very inexpensive, this fed batch fermentation process is followed because you can add the media, you can add the raw material in the batches, not at a single time or not continuously. So it comes under the category of mid level. So in the batch fermentation, firstly, either you will be adding the raw material fully and you will start up the process. So, and in the continuous fermentation, also you will be continuously adding the nutrients or the material, raw materials. But in the fed batch process, if the raw material cost is very high, we can split up. For example, if it is 100 ml means we can split up the nutrients or the raw material into 20, 20, 20, 20 into 5 batches, and you can add it whenever required. That is after 1 day or after 6 hours, 20, 20 ml you can supplement. You can supply it. So this allows the maximum productivity rate, and also the yield, improves the yield also. So it is mostly preferred when the raw material cost is high. So this is achieved by regulating the feed rates of the limiting substrates. Okay, so like the substrates like nitrogen on the phosphate substrates or the inducers, the precursors, or any other intermediates. So we can choose of any one of the source of these materials, and that can be split up into many batches and can be supplied at the intervals or at a constant interval levels. So through the manipulation of the feed rates of the medium containing the substrate and nutrients, we can attain a product yield, better product yield, and also a good fed batch fermentation process. This fed batch operation allows the regulation of the concentration of key substances and allows the constant production or a product formation, uniform product formation rate. So this mode will be mostly started with the batch fermentation phase only, similar to that of the batch fermentation process, until the consumption of one or more substrates or the nutrients as is found is acting as a limiting factor or is acting as an inducing factor for the production of the enzymes or any other products. So, and the fresh medium can be inoculated into that at a different feeding patterns. So this feeding pattern can be added, or feeding of the raw material into the fermentation vessel is possible via a fixed volume or variable volume during the time course of this process. So this feeding strategy can be either added continuously or exponentially, or pulses over a short or long period during the entire fermentation process. And especially this one is controlled by a feedback control that requires a continuous monitoring and also an operator control through sensors, and also to prevent the depressive effects of the high substrate concentration, and also to avoid the catabolism repression that may occur sometimes due to the usage of this two sugars at the in the same medium. What are the advantages of a fed batch culture? It extends a culture's productive duration, and it can be used to switch genes on or off by changing the substrate. Can be manipulated for maximum productivity using different feeding strategies. There are a few disadvantages with this also. It allows the buildup of inhibitory agents and toxins contamination, may produce high cell density numbers and product yields, which are difficult to deal with within this downstream process, and sometimes creating a bottleneck in the whole process.